The funny thing with life is that you are not trying to understand it before you get burned once or twice. The moment when you meet with the harsh reality of life. And from that point on, you start to search. You start to search a meaning. Maybe if you're lucky, you will climb up a ladder or two. And no matter what you do, by trying to purchase your way into happiness, you don't get any results. So I made a video on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I thought it would be a good time to make a follow-up video. Climbing up to the top of that pyramid will grant you with the ultimate trophy. And that trophy is self-actualization. And this time we will talk about the characteristics of a person that leads to self-actualization. There are quite few of them, so let's get into it. Self-actualizers are more in tune with reality and accept it as it is. They have a good perception of and the ability to spot fakes and truths. It becomes difficult to fake something with them because they are good at cutting the bullshit and telling as it is. They are good at spotting inconsistencies, thus making them prone to see connections between different things and seek out the truth more easily. Self-actualizers are very tolerant of the surroundings and the self as well. They see value in perfect imperfections. They acknowledge the beauty of everything. They don't dwell on the past, and they don't worry of the future as much as others. They're content with life and how it unveils itself before them. They experience everything in the same manner as non-self-actualizers, but they don't become hung up on the emotions. Self-actualizers prefer spontaneity, and this quality is something that I recognize. I made a video on procrastination where I mentioned that I don't usually plan stuff too much. I kinda enjoy my free time, make schedule for important things, and the rest I wing it. I don't want to be held hostage to clock. I don't want to feel as a robot. I want to experience life as it comes. For instance, if you have something important to do and your friends are trying to entice you with the party and you feel like you have promised yourself to be done with that task as soon as possible, so you will be very truthful with yourself. It's not like you are trying to be rebellious, but you handle life as you go. You're not trying to please others, rather live out your own truth. This point is very important because the majority of people nowadays are always complaining about stuff they don't appreciate or that don't favor them. And it's very easy to be sucked into this victimhood, into this victim mentality of always talking and never doing. Self-actualizers don't see problems. They see endless river of possibilities, many types of solutions. Whenever you encounter a problem, you don't give in to your emotions. Instead, your brain starts to tick and you're searching for a solution. And that's what makes you to grow. That's how you gain experience. Self-actualizers are very centered. They don't get triggered by others' emotions and remain calm in different potentially stressful situations like others may feel bad about. They are totally detached from public opinions and are driven by their own energy, own resourcefulness, which they gather through introspection. I have actually done video on extroversion and introversion, and you're welcome to check this out. Introverted people tend to be introspective, and in that video I also mentioned that introversion and extroversion are not static personality traits and can vary throughout their life. In that sense, self-actualizers can be ambiverts. To remain calm in difficult situations, one has to have a very stable sense of self, and that of course comes from the feeling of independency. When you're so sure about your own abilities that you don't care about how you're perceived, bad nor good. It's not about being thoughtless, rather not defining themselves according to others' opinions. I've talked in numerous videos that it's very important to keep your childlike curiosity for life, for the world, for the surroundings, and keep that excitement for newness, for things that you explore. That is actually a part of being creative, as creativity comes from being in the moment. And no adult can be as good as a child in being in the moment. Also having appreciation for small things that many people take for granted. Self-actualizers go through mystical experiences, and this is something that no science can explain. I think people are too dependent on science to lead the way, to show the way. and are afraid to step into a darkness. Some people are so radical that you cannot even discuss something that isn't discovered or have been proved yet. And you may notice that I am smiling right now. That's because I was that person. I was blindly following this science. I was convinced that things that I cannot hear or see or touch don't exist. And to be honest, it would be very arrogant of us human beings to think that our brains are so developed that we can fathom, that we can understand everything in this universe. These mystical experiences come from being in touch with your emotions fully. It doesn't mean that you are expressing them to every person, it just means that you understand yourself. Those can be experienced as feelings of awe and admiration. In the moment of heat, listening to a grandiose music piece, or maybe having a volcano eruptive-like sensation with your partner. Self-actualizers have a sense for Gemeinschaftsgefühl, which basically means oneness with everything and everyone, and have a profound interest in helping humanity. Self-actualizers can be experienced as distant people. They can feel saddened by the limitations of an average person. But it doesn't mean that they don't care about humanity as a whole, and they often feel that they have to take on a role of being an elderly, cannot be seen by the limited mind of an average person. Self-actualizers don't care so much about superficialities, and thus their relationships go deeper than any other bond. They care for truth, they care for genuineness, they care for authenticity. Self-actualizers have so much integrity that they don't hold back if something isn't right, and can pinpoint at wrongdoings without feeling bad about hurting someone. Self-actualizers are eternal seekers, and that's why they associate themselves with elite people. Elite nature doesn't have anything to do with your race, with your birthplace, with your background. It has everything to do with your character, your talent, your capacity. Self-actualizers try to surround themselves with quality people so that they can learn from them. No matter how gifted they might be, there's always something new to learn from others. And this is a high point of humility. Self-actualizers have a great moral compass. They can tell apart right from wrong. And these people aren't necessarily driven by religious beliefs. They just know what's good and evil. Self-actualizers tend to have a peculiar sense of humor, which tends to be more of a philosophical nature than to make others laugh. The funny part is in the truth. Creativity is a great part of becoming your true self. You have to follow your inner voice and follow your passion and do stuff that you always enjoy. That being said, it doesn't mean that they don't enjoy most monotonous tasks. Whatever they do out of curiosity. And the full attention, the full focus is undisputable. They dedicate themselves to their craft. Self-actualizers don't see themselves to belong to something particular, something specific. There's no pride of being of certain race. There's no pride of being of certain gender. There's no pride of coming from a certain place. There's only the truth. There is only the self. And there's just one self that they always present to the public. It doesn't matter which culture they find themselves to live in. They never feel that they belong to something specific. These were the 15 characteristics that define self-actualizers. Keep in mind they are not set in stone, and it's just a guideline, a flashlight, that maybe can give you some clarification of things that you were experiencing. This is not to feed someone's ego. It is merely to point out, to direct, to show the way of things that you were probably experiencing, and give you some visualization of your thoughts. As with everything else, don't take these things very rigidly. Be always critical and question everything. Do your own research and make sure that you follow your inner voice. And as for me, I am out.